Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up?
Really like that.
You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape. It's still new. You ever moved into a brand new home, especially if you have new kids, or not new kids, if you have kids and a career, okay, it takes a while when you move into that new home to get all of the boxes unpacked, right? It takes you months, I mean months, before you get everything unpacked and put away where you want it. It might take you years to get all of the photos put on the wall like you want them. Hell, don't even get me started on starting any type of landscaping projects or anything like that, okay? It takes a while. It might take a couple of months, it might take a couple of years. Bottom line, when you move into a new house, it takes a while before you're completely moved in and completely settled down. It's the same way for a new offense. I'm dead serious with you. Even if you aren't changing much of the ingredients, right? Even if everything kind of stays the same, the home can be a little cluttered to start the year, right? Even if the furniture is the same, if the concepts and the offense is still relatively the same, you have the same plays and same concepts, things can still feel a little out of place in that new home, right? If the identity and the structure of the home are a little bit different, things are going to feel a little bit different, right? You got a new quarterback, a new coordinator. It's a new team. It's a new team. Okay, things are going to change. Things are going to feel a little bit different. So when I'm evaluating this offense and evaluating this home, if you will, this brand new home that you've moved into, I don't need to see the finished product week one. I don't need you to come out and look perfect in week one. I just need to know that a month into the season, you still don't have boxes standing in the middle of the foyer or boxes in the middle of the living room, okay? At least somewhat. We're starting to put things away every single week, right? So every single week when I run to the tape, especially early in the year, I want to see some new additions, right? I want to see the new complexity of the offense, or at least the complexity of the offense, intensify week to week. You should be adding on. You should be building. You should be removing boxes and stowing away that brand new home, okay? I want to see new wrinkles every single week. I want to see new complex motions. I want to see concepts working off of the concepts that work. That's what coordinating is. The more and more we build on, the more and more we have success doing one thing, I want to build a new offense off of that success, right? I want to see concepts working off of the concepts that are working. What the hell does that mean? How do we even quantify that? Well, if you watched the film this morning, I think we gave you some of those, right? A prime example of this was the throwback screen this week to Brock Bowers, a touchdown in the red zone, right? You guys have been in 6-man pass protections out of 11 personnel all year. You've been showing Brock Bowers attached on the line of scrimmage in 11, meaning Oscar Delp's not on the field. You have 3 receivers, Brock Bowers on the line of scrimmage. You've been running a lot of 6-man pass protection out of that. You have been the first 3 or 4 weeks. And then midway through the game this week, you throw a throwback screen, right? Building concepts off of the concepts that are working. If you're having problems taking shots downfield, building some continuity, well, hey, here's a brilliant idea. Why don't we start the opening of the game with a deep Dover concept that makes us feel nice and comfortable as a quarterback, right? If you're having problems preoccupying the backside end, which they kind of did for the first 3 weeks of the season, well, guess what? Week 4, we're going to absolutely hammer arrow screens to the tight end out in space. We're going to put that defensive end in conflict. When I'm evaluating coordinating, when I'm evaluating new offense, okay, or a change in offense, I just want to see the boxes are getting put away, and that's exactly what I see. I see progress in the moving process, right? I see progress in the moving process, and that's exactly what we've seen, okay, through the first 4 games, all right? In my opinion, I see progression and growth, okay? We talked about it on Twitter this morning. They did a bunch of scatter motion, something that they just put in, right? What is scatter motion? We're going to line up in, let's say, duos spread out, right? Then we're going to scatter to duos bunch, or we're going to line up in trips bunch or duos bunch, and then we're going to scatter to a spread formation, right? It's a little simple adjustment. It's a little simple seasoning added onto the recipe, but guess what? It's additions, it's development, and it's further progress, again, in the moving in process, because that's exactly what you have right now at the University of Georgia. You have a moving in process to this new offensive coordinator and new quarterback. Welcome into tonight's show. We got a loaded one for you. Okay, going to give you some more film observations and game day reactions from me and the boys here. Is the defense a problem? We're going to talk about it a little bit tonight. We're going to give them three things that impressed you this week from the Georgia football game. We're going to talk a little bit about the wide receiver room, and that man Hugh Freeze had one of the most classic, ultimate backfires I've seen in quite a minute. Welcome in tonight, boys. How we doing?
Doing good, man. What about you?
I can't complain. I could complain. Little tired. Okay, this happens to me every year. About midway, or about a third of the way through the season. Yeah, we're a third of the way through. We're a third of the way through the regular season. We get that break in December normally. You know, after the SEC championship game, you get about 20 days to be a human, and not just mainline football all the time. But yeah, we're going to catch a second win here in a little bit, no doubt.
Absolutely. I'm doing good.
You doing good?
I'm doing good.
Just nice and good. Hey, glad to have you guys in tonight for tonight's show. We do have a loaded one. It's a great time to be here on this network. We're growing, constantly growing. Things are going off the charts. You guys are showing up in droves with regards to the subscription numbers, so we appreciate that over there. What's going on? I think I know what you're talking about.
Man, can't wait to get that checked out.
You probably should get that checked out there, Marion. Anyways, welcome into tonight's show. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you are. And I know the film study's already got over 4,000 views. But if you haven't watched the Mistake Monday film study, go ahead and run and do that now. We will also have All 22 Tuesday tomorrow over on patreon.com/Brooks Austin. So if you're into film study, which is what we do here most of the time, okay, apart from Monday through Thursdays, 8 to 10 p.m., we do a lot of film stuff, okay? So it's available for you, and most of it's over there on Patreon, patreon.com/Brooks Austin. Where are we going? Let's talk about these film observations, but before we do that, let's give a shout out to Prize Picks. Okay, the homies over there at Prize Picks have been doing a great job of supporting us. Hey, Jack, if you're listening, I need my Prize Picks helmet, okay? We got that shorter you helmet. I need that big purple P sitting right here, dog. We need to push that P like nobody's business, all right? And we're going to push that P right now. PrizePicks.com, promo code Brooks. Okay, you get a 100% deposit match today. What does that mean? Put a hundo in, get a hundo back. Max to $100 on that deposit match over there on PrizePicks.com. Again, promo code Brooks. It's important, guys. Go support those who support us. They're the reason we've been able to dump all of this additional content on you outside of just the willingness to do so, because we love to do it. But yeah, make sure you're supporting those that support us. Let's get after it. I got some film observations for you guys left off of today's film study that I did, and you guys save up your game day reactions for me right after this. Let's knock out these film observations. Film observation number one actually comes from play number one during the game on Saturday. The reason that Dover opened, okay, to Dominic Lovett, y'all get a 65-yard play to start the football game. It feels great. Everybody's woohooing in the stands. All great, all good. Well, two things happened. One, Brock Bowers releasing late kind of drew up the underneath coverage. Linebackers kind of sucked up on him. But the primary reason it worked was because Arian Smith we might as well call him the yellow hammer, all right? As soon as people see him, just wet down the leg. Them safeties, man, they get so scared when they see 11, start running at them, they have to bail, okay? That's why we call him the yellow hammer. Get a little scared, wet down the leg, all right? So that's what we're going to call Arian Smith from now on, and you can see it. It don't even have to be put on tape with regards to y'all actually completing that ball, because every single time the safety sees it, they just bail like hell, and that's exactly what happened on Saturday. So, again, you have to be able, if you're Arian, you have to be able to stay on the field, and that's only going to come through blocking. So that has to continue to develop. Obviously, you have to catch the deep balls that are thrown your way, too. That could help as well. But, man, he's such a fear. He creates such fear on the defensive side of the football. It's not quite like Steph Curry, but if you're a basketball fan, when Steph Curry's on the court, man, he draws so much coverage that it kind of opens everybody else up. And if you can draw coverage to open up, Dominic Lovett, or if you can draw coverage to open up Brock Bowers, you're doing your job by just being on the field. The problem is we got to get all the other things in order right now from Arian Smith to remain on the field every snap, to where we're not just kind of a specialized football player. I was telling my man Jay Will this before the game. Kirby, I don't know if you heard it because you had the headphones in, getting your pregame music locked in. I think Xavier Truss is playing at about 70 to 75% capacity of what Amarius Mims is as a right tackle, okay, or was showing the ability to be as a right tackle before his injury. Okay, so about 70% of efficiency and grade out for me over there at right tackle. So you're losing a little bit. However, Dylan Fairchild's about 120% of what Xavier Truss was on tape so far through 2 games that Xavier Truss was at left guard. So what do you do? Okay, that's the predicament, and it's a good one to have, right? You knew you were a deep football team on the offensive line coming into the season, so this isn't breaking news. But I think it is kind of a noticeable thing, particularly in the run game, when you see Dylan Fairchild at left guard. They move people, all right? So now you have Tate Ratledge at right guard, you have Dylan Fairchild at left guard, and SVP at center. There's not very many double teams and combination blocks. You're not going to blow people off the ball in the SEC. Whereas when Xavier was in there, we showed you on tape, there was a propensity to fall over, all right, to play overextended. And what that tells me is we're not quite prepared to blow guys off the ball at the guard position in the SEC right now, even though we're 5-6 years into his college career. So it's going to become, it's, again, a good problem to have. But in my opinion, it's going to become a predicament of how do we take Dylan Fairchild off the field when Amarius Mims returns? And how can we possibly sit a 6th-year senior who started 35 games for us, okay, in Xavier Truss? That's a quote-unquote good problem to have, but it's a tough problem to have, right? It's one that, not a lot of people see. But anyways, I don't know what you do. I don't know what Stacey Searles does. I would imagine he continues to rotate them, okay? And when Amarius gets back, I would imagine you see Dylan Fairchild in 2nd, 3rd series. Extremely hard to sit a 6th-year senior. Okay, 3rd one. Guys, this one's, I got to stop addressing people on Twitter who are loud and obnoxious and just who have opinions, because they have opinions doesn't mean that they need to get addressed. But I've seen this one over and over again. Because Jamon Dumas Johnson, or as we call him around here, Pop, because Pop's kind of gotten outran on 2 plays, all right? One against UT Martin, quarterback outran him, all right, down the sideline. And another one this weekend, the touchdown on the tight end slip, right? The little tight end arrow into the flat, all right? The very first touchdown of the game. He kind of gets outran for 15 yards. And then all of a sudden, people on Twitter in my mentions talking about how C.J. Allen needs more playing time, how Pop needs to sit, how Pop needs to get adjusted, how Pop this, Pop that, Pop this, Pop that. Guys, number 10 might be playing less than above average football for his standards right now. I'm not going to lie, all right? But he is, if you've listened to anything that your head coach or your defensive coordinator or anybody said about your defense, is the leader on your defense. If he had a C on, if they put C's on chest, he would have one, all right? He is the vocal leader. He is the one who gets everyone right and holds everyone accountable. If the one time through 3 games of a stretch, that guy doesn't play like all SEC linebacker like we expect him to, can you play with a little bit of confidence as a fan base? Can you? Can you give the guy a little bit of leeway? Because all he does is play like an all-SEC defender for like 18 months. Okay, so he has 2.5 bad games. All right, and I spoke to some people inside the building about this today. Has number 10 played great this year? No. And I think he would be able to tell you that. He even said that today. He said, I'm not getting a ton of action inside the box, but it's below my standards. So he knows it too, all right? So let's just hold off. Let's just hold off, okay? Again, when the guy isn't exactly playing the best football of his career, just nip it. Just nip it in the bud just a little bit. Provide a little bit of confidence for the guy, even though it's not your job as fans. Your job as fans is to react. I'm just saying the coach ain't going to sit out here and pull the dude because he's the damn leader of the football team, all right? So let him have a couple weeks to get situated back there. I think Mike Bobo showed me like true signs of confidence in his quarterback this weekend. All right. The 5th drive of the game, it's ball on the 5. 1st and down, 1st and 10, ball inside the 5. All right. This is normally a situation where Georgia's trying to run the ball and get the ball out of their own end, right? And trying to play conservative. Not what Mike Bobo does. Mike Bobo on 1st and 10, again, 5th possession of the game, calls a big boy dig, all right, out of trips. All right. Runs Marcus Rosemi Jack Saint. Okay, 10, round it to 15, right across the middle of the field, going to have to protect. Okay, 5 guys got to hold up. Quarterback got to stand in there and rip one right in the face of the defense. Big time confidence. I have confidence in my offense to both protect and my quarterback to throw this football backed up inside my own 5. Boom, confidence play number 1. The second play of the drive, after they complete a dig to Marcus or Simi Jack Saint, you boys know what he does?
Deep shot to Arian Smith.
Deep shot to Arian Smith. Let's say that son gun throw it 70 yards. All right, so 2 plays in a row where I see, hey, coordinator finally giving a data boy, giving a, hey, you're our guy, all right, to the starting quarterback via some play calls. So I enjoyed watching that. Now, the other thing that I enjoyed listening to Carson talk about this postgame, and it's my last, 5th and final observation. They missed 2 big shots in the first half, right? One was an Arian Smith drop. The other one was a miss, a straight-up miss on a skinny to Jackson Meeks, okay? Carson Beck will tell you right now he missed that throw. Pulled it just a little inside. You can make excuses all you want. Jackson Meeks, first real rep or target, real big-time target all year. Maybe it's a little slower than the other guy. We can make 1,000 excuses. Carson's going to tell you he 100% missed that. But here's the good news for Georgia, okay, with regards to those 2 misses. And Carson knew it after the game when I asked him. You know what they did on those 2 drives? They scored touchdowns. Okay, so they overcame, and a lot of times it's hard to do this. That's why Georgia historically doesn't take a bunch of shots, okay? Because 1st and 10 turns into 2nd and 10 real quick. 2nd and 10 turns into 3rd and 10 real quick, and statistically we don't have a good opportunity to convert those, right? Normally when you take shots and incomplete them or miss them, normally you don't convert or end up scoring on that drive, all right? Georgia did a great job Saturday responding in those 2 opportunities. Boys, what do we think about Saturday?
I think from an offensive standpoint, any concerns that you really had about the offense got answered. People wanted to see more deep shots. You got some deep shots. People wanted Brock Bowers more involved in the offense. Boy, did you ever get him more involved in the offense. I thought Carson Beck played well. So I think and the offensive line continued to improve. So I think any concerns you had about the offense and the red zone conversion rate.
Yeah.
I mean, any concerns you had, those got answered on Saturday.
Yeah, they were perfect 6 for 6 in the red zone. We're going to talk about that a little bit later.
It definitely looks to me like Mike Boa's figured out what he wants his identity for this offense to be, and he's calling plays accordingly. You can tell that he's more confident in the booth. You can tell that Carson Beck is more confident because of it. So I think it's good. I think they're finally starting to figure things out. Not that they didn't have things figured out before, but they're finally starting to fine-tune.
We made 2 kind of consistent predictions over and over and over and over again on this network this offseason leading up to this, okay? I told you 2 things. One, about this offense. One, I thought Carson Beck and this offense was going to lead the country in 3rd down efficiency. I thought they were 3rd down conversion rate. Okay, going into this football game, I think they were 51st in 3rd down conversion rate, converting 43% of their 3rd downs. They were 13 of 15 on Saturday night on 3rd down. That's the football team I expected to see this year. That's the quarterback I expected to see this year. That's the decision-making process I expected to see this year. And the other thing we told you about this offense and about this coordinator in particular, whether you go back to his days as the OC at Georgia or his days as the head coach at Colorado State or his days as the OC at South Carolina or his days as the OC at Auburn, if you're his best player, you have career years, period, point blank. 9 catches, 120-plus yards, 2 touchdowns for Brock Bowers on Saturday. He was a focal point and like a consistent focal point for the first time really all season this year. That's the offense. That's the football team I expected to see this year. Was it not, boys?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he may have caught more screens than a defender guarding Stephen Curry in a game, but that's the point is you get him the ball. You want your best playmaker to have the ball in his hands, and a lot of times that's going to require you just to throw it to 19, see what he can do, and good things are going to happen.
Them were Andrew Bogut 2016 screens too, man.
Absolutely.
Them were stiff in the paint screens, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I like seeing the extension to the run game. I kind of wanted them to do that H down. I told you we didn't need Epic Ping. Is it up there already?
I can get it for you.
I think it's
up
sitting.
there.
Yeah, I think it's sitting over there. Let's do this right quick. They've been getting into duos and we've been talking about handling the backside end all year. They've been getting into duos and kind of running this H arrow screen, okay? Duo's tight too. So putting Bowers here, putting Delp there, putting Ra Thomas out here, and putting whoever's playing Z over there, quarterback, running back, right? They've been lining up in what we would call duos kind of squeezed or duos tight, right? Duos tight, all right? And running a step down here from Brett Bowers and then running the arrow screen, okay, and then blocking out here. So this is now the RPO, right? RPOs in years past for Georgia were with who? The quarterback. That's right. We put the running back over here. Woo! Look at that. We put the running back over here, right? And we'd RPO this. So we still have kind of the option into this void of the defense over here to hold them responsible. So how do we do that if we don't have a quarterback that can run out of the back? Well, we attach or we attack with this arrow screen here. We fake here and we run the jab step down and then arrow out. And now we still have our 2 over 2. And this linebacker now that's responsible for Bowers has to run without the proper leverage. Okay, he's got to play the box and now he's got to run here to attack Bowers. And that's who they're reading now. They're reading that backside linebacker, that backside inside linebacker, and just waiting for him to float over. If he floats over, they just pull it out of the belly and throw it to Bowers out in the flat. So what you've traded with a rushing threat for the quarterback, you've added in a new feature with this little kind of like H arrow screen off the backside.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that. That's pretty much their new RPO style, where it's Carson Beck is almost never going to keep the rock. It's either he's handing it off or it's going to be a quick arrow.
Absolutely.
So.
And Marion Campbell's asking right there, does he slam down? Yes, that's what I tried to draw. It's like give me one. Yeah, it's kind of like he's right here, he's H down, and he steps down hard and then runs straight to the flat. All he's trying to do is get that in to pull down with him, and then he's running that arrow right out the flat, right out of the backside. So yeah, 100% steps down hard and then gets out into the flat. And again, it's my guy out there in space, my best ball carrier, my best run after the catch guy in space with the ball in his hands. You've also heard Kirby talk about how, Carson, they felt like baseball background, middle infielder, felt like he has a real ability to get the ball in and out of his hands and deliver strikes really quickly because of his baseball background. So they added that feature into the offense. But really they added that feature into the offense because his legs weren't going to be a portion of it.
Interesting.
So we have to find ways to get extensions of the run game.
I like that.
All right, let's give them 3 right quick. I'll give you my 3 things that impressed me this weekend. I think number 1 should be number 1 for all of us. Can we say it on 3? 1, 2, 3, red zone offense. Yeah, red zone offense was impressive this week. They were 6 for 6 in the red zone, put it in the box relatively well. They ran the ball successfully in the red zone. They called plays successfully in the red zone. Bobo got in his bag a little bit there in the red zone, right? Feeding the guy that got him there, essentially. Making sure Bowers got touches every once in a while in the red zone as well. So thought they did an exceptional job down there, as noticeable by the stats from this weekend. Guys, excuse me. Dylan Fairchild, I already talked about it, and Christian Miller are probably the 2 most impressive football players right now against the run on tape. They hold solid, and I mean rock solid, on the interiors of both of those lines of scrimmage, and they'll be back for a whole nother year, and they'll be back as starters next year, presumably, so that's good news. The other thing that impressed me is not Georgia-related. It is Alex Mortensen. Alex Mortensen is going to have a big-time OC, maybe head coaching job, like really, really soon. I thought he put together one of the more comprehensive and sustainable, successful plans against Georgia that any inferior opponent has put together in 2 or 3 years against these guys. They attacked what you needed to attack. They were diligent in attempting to throw the ball on first down. They were rarely, if ever, behind the sticks, because if they didn't complete on first down and get ahead of the chains, they were diligent and adamant about running the ball on 2nd and long, okay, and living with 3rd and 6 if we don't complete the ball on first down. That's very much so their game plan. They also did some really neat things that we showed you on film this morning with regards to isolating and kind of removing Malachi Starks. Okay, you're never going to take him out of the game plan. You're never going to keep him from, completely impacting the game. But I think you're going to see a lot more teams get into nub like we showed you on the film study this morning. It puts Malachi on one side of the field and allows you to play against the other 10 guys. It's basically hide the ball from the good guy on the court, all right? Or when you play throw him up, beat him up, making sure that the guy who's obviously going to score every single time doesn't end up with the ball in his hands. It's the same thing that teams, or at least Mortensen, tried to do on key downs, all right? When he was trying to get big, successful plays on 1st and 10, they got into nub. When it was 3rd and 9 and they didn't really feel comfortable getting separation and tried to make the read easy for their quarterback, they got in nub, right? When they were trying to take shots, they got in nub. All right, these types of things are going to be consistent in moving forward against opponents that are playing you. That's mine. Give them 3.
So basically just 2 now, I guess.
I mean, you can give me the red zone offense.
Well, actually, I didn't even have that one, so I don't know why I'm saying that. First one, Warren Brinson. Kind of asked him to answer the call this weekend, especially when he didn't have Micah Williams on the defensive line. I thought he had a tremendous football game on Saturday, so he's my first one. Second one, have to throw in Brock Bowers in there. I mean, the way that he played on Saturday, threw Buddy out of the club, 2 touchdowns, 120 yards. That's the first time we've seen Brock Bowers be Brock Bowers this season. Last one, we kind of talk about this quite a bit with Carson, but I think on Saturday it was really a point of emphasis, at least for me it was just how he remains inside of the pocket, and he will sit there and process the field until the very last minute. He's going to make the right decision every time. I thought he did a really good job of that. You know, Kirby talked about seeing through the smoke. I thought he did exceptional doing that and just making sure the ball got where it needed to be, even if it was a boring little play just out to the check down. I thought he played great.
I don't know if the common fan understands how truly hard it is to know exactly where everybody is in that moment of chaos. Finding your checkdowns is really hard. Finding your checkdowns made Tom Brady the greatest quarterback of all time. It's that hard. Finding your checkdowns, making the right decisions is why Peyton Manning is the second greatest quarterback of all time. Finding your checkdowns and playing and making the right decisions and not turning the ball over is why Aaron Rodgers is the third greatest quarterback of all time. All right? That's what it is. If you go look in the years of Aaron Rodgers, go find me the criticisms of Aaron Rodgers. You know what they are? He doesn't put the ball at risk enough. He throws the ball away too many times. He only has 2 interceptions because he's not pushing the ball down the field enough. They say that shit about Aaron Rodgers. What you think they fitting to say about Carson Beck when he's making the right decisions, but it looks boring? Yeah. He's not going to put the ball at risk. It's not who he is. It's not what he is. By the way, not who your head coach is either. Your head coach hates watching quarterbacks put the ball at risk. He really does. It's why he was so hesitant to just be all in on Stetson Bennett, because he saw it during practice until it was the last moment where, all right, the other dude's not practicing at all, so we kind of have to go with 13 right now and live with the results. And the results were really, really good after he had time to make all of his mistakes. That's what it was. So your mistakes right now look what we are what we call turn downs, right? He sees an open receiver, clicks off of it, turns it down. That's what the mistakes are right now. And if turn downs and check downs are the quote unquote mistakes, I promise you right now, you're going to take that a whole hell of a lot better and a whole hell of a lot nicer. And that medicine's easier to take than Jalen Milroe staring down a receiver and drawing a safety into it. Or Stetson Bennett rolling out and getting a pressure in his face and chunking a ball into triple coverage just because. Those things drive you and your head coach crazy, all right? Checking it down's not bad, all right? You'll never go broke taking a profit. I think that was the motto of the film study this morning. You never get broke taking a profit. Georgia's offense ain't going broke this year. It might be a little boring to you, but it's not going to turn the ball over.
Mm-mm. Yeah, so kind of contrary to what Jay Wills was, yes, Carson Beck made the right decisions, but he also put the ball more at risk this time. He showed he had more confidence. He was basically willing to throw the ball downfield more, which I feel like was something we hadn't seen in the prior weeks. So that was one of the first things that impressed me. What also impressed me was how much time he had to throw. I feel like the offensive line did a really good job holding up. Not that I didn't expect them to, but there were a couple of plays where you realized, oh, yeah, we have one of the best offensive lines in the country just because of how much time Carson Beck had. And then the third one was Brock Bowers as well. To have that kind of games kind of remind you, oh, yeah, he is the best tight end in the country. So that was my give him 3.
I asked Kirby after the game about the amount of pressure that they've gotten the last 2 football games. Pressure, blitzes, 2 different things, okay? Pressure is 5, okay? That means we can handle everybody, but it's one-on-one. Blitz is 6, right? Or if we're in 6-man protection, blitz is 7. In other words, a blitz doesn't occur until they bring one more than we have to block. That's a blitz. Pressures we can handle, okay, as long as everybody wins their one-on-one. But they've been getting pressured at a really, really high rate, okay? It's not been standard 4-man rushes that are getting home. If you watch Georgia's sacks they've been giving up, it's pressures. It's 5-man pressures. They're bringing a lot, all right, and they're dropping 6 to play in coverage. So what that means is, as a football team, you've got to be prepared. You got to be prepared as an offensive line for blitz pickup and pressure pickup all week long. That's all you rep. And I used to hate it. Blitz pickup period was the worst because you got scout team linebacker All-American running straight down your face and just trying to blow you up in the middle of practice. That's what scout team blitz pickup period looks like. And I guarantee you, since they've decided to go with Carson Beck, they've been working blitz pickup harder than anybody else, or harder than they probably ever have, because teams don't typically blitz scramblers, okay? Because once they get out of the pocket, now we have more people behind the ball carrier than we do in front of. Does that make sense? But when we got kind of pocket passers or guys that tend to do most of their damage from the pocket, we can gear up a little bit. We can pressure them a little bit. I think that's something you're going to see moving forward, like throughout the season, guys. I don't know what, Auburn's propensity in years past has been to be a blitz-heavy football team. I don't know what they've been playing this year. We're going to get a good look at them as the week goes on here.
Yeah, but there are even a couple of times where Carson showed a little bit of an ability to escape the pocket, pick up what he can with his legs. He's not labeled as a mobile guy, but he's still athletic enough to escape the pocket, pick up maybe 4 or 5 yards before he keeps sticks moving.
It was funny. I remember, I think it was after the national championship game last year, with Stetson sitting right next to Kurt. You were in that press conference. Mm-hmm. Didn't he say something? Wasn't he asked about something about the athleticism at the quarterback position?
Yeah.
And was asked to give a scale of 1 to 10 and basically asked what was Stetson and what is required to play the position. He said Stetson's about an 8.5, and he said you got to be about a 7.1 to play the position. And I think that was him basically telling the world he thinks Carson Beck's a 7.1 on the athletic scale. And that's about what he is, right? If you watch him on Saturday, he gets the job done. He gets the job done with his legs. Now, I did notice ball security, whole hell of a lot better on that scramble this week. Had some ball on the chest, right? Ball on the chest plate, and a secondary crossover right there when he got hit. So I'd love to see that young players are coachable. Would like to see the eyes get continued on the truck sweep play action. That's about the only thing I got left on minor coaching points with eye discipline on the quarterback. I thought he played relatively well on Saturday.
Absolutely.
We're done with giving 3. Let's talk about this wide receiver room, man. Was it Kenny last? I talked about this on the film study this year. Last year, I felt like just the first 3 or 4 games of the year, it was Stetson and Kenny who had problems on these screen passes, where Kenny was either dropping them or Stetson was throwing it too far out in front. It was just some inconsistencies between those 2 guys. It just seemed like they were off. Something was going on. Sometimes this happens, right? Where I got 9 guys I'm throwing to, but I only really got a problem completing to 1. And it's the way football works sometimes. You just don't have good chemistry with that one guy. I think that's what's happening right now between Carson Beck and Dom Lovett.
Yeah.
Dom Lovett's 2 drops Saturday were on screen passes, and they were uncharacteristic drops for an all-SEC caliber receiver. They just didn't make any sense.
Well, I think it's also kind of what you had last year, not in the same vein of they were screen passes, but a guy like Ladd who kind of went through a struggle. It was at this point of the season, too.
It was.
I think it was that Kent State game where it really started. So I think I guess that just might be kind of what goes on in the receiver room. There were a couple more drops that I noticed on Saturday that were kind of like, you don't usually see that from receivers. So I think
Arian had 1.
Yep.
Ra had 1, I think.
Yep.
Dom had 2. And that was it, right?
Yeah, that's the only ones I can think of.
5 drops.
Yeah.
5 drops and he only had 10 incompletions? That's not bad, bro. That's not bad, dude.
I didn't even do the math on that. I just realized that is really incredible.
Yeah.
But
I think he was 22 for 32, so he should have been 27 for 32 for 330. More than that. 27 for 32 for probably 400 yards on Saturday if he doesn't have drops.
Yeah.
Because the one ball to Arian should have been a 70-yard touchdown.
Yeah. That's insane.
Which I don't think was as bad of a drop as bad as it was an adjustment. That ball was in the air so long, and he never moved off of his landmark.
He didn't run under it, no.
No, he did not.
Because if you watch, when he looked to catch it, it was on his right shoulder.
That's what I'm saying. You're gonna drop this ball when you're looking this way, all right? But that's an adjustment issue, not a hands. It's a hands issue, but it's an adjustment issue.
Yeah.
We got to be able to track that ball better.
That's not the ball hit your hands. You should catch that. You didn't run under it right away, which is fixable, more fixable than catching, I think.
Yeah, it was good at least to see him. That deep ball is so beautiful from the stadium, bro.
Yeah,
like we were all there, weren't we?
Yes,
all 3 of us. That ball could have scraped the sky.
Yes,
I mean it could have drew rain.
Oh, I mean, it definitely looked like it was in the 3rd tier of the stadium at that point. It looked like a punt.
It went over the box. Yeah. Like I couldn't see the arc of the football.
It was one of those deep balls where when it's in the air, you feel like time stops almost because you just feel like you're staring in the air for so long, waiting for it to come down.
Was asked, Pop was asked today about Javon Bullard's absence, and for 2 weeks in a row, this week I felt like David Daniel played a little bit better. It wasn't as noticeable that they weren't back there, but I also noticed that Dan Jackson played a lot more.
Yes, he did.
Dan Jackson got a lot more burn this week. And that's the way it works, I think, at Georgia now. I think you're going to get the older head get an opportunity. The young guy's always going to get a chance. But the moment you show any type of, hey, we can't quite trust you to the full extent, the other guy's going to get played. And I think that's the way it ought to be 100% honest with you.
Yeah, and I felt like Dan played a relatively good game. Like there wasn't anything flash where you go, "Oh my God, who is that?" But
That'll never be Dan.
no. But it's also at the same time he does his job and he's always in the right place. So he's all reliable, and that's so valuable.
All reliable. That's a good one for Dan. I like that.
Does Brock Bowers have 350 career yards against UAB? How many is it?
He had 120, and then he had like 170 something in the first time.
Yeah, I'll check it right now.
Because my man be eating against UAB.
Yeah. He's got a vendetta against them or something, that's for sure.
I think it's more of I would like to see this moving forward. Just, hey, 10 touches. Because you know who's not going to complain? Bowers. I mean, they've talked about it over and over again. It's like ad nauseum. It's like one of the most known facts about Bowers is that he is a rep psycho. Like he just wants all the reps, and coach can't get him to not practice and slow down at all. So feed him.
The play that personified Brock Bowers the most was after that monstrous stiff arm that he delivered, he just goes back on the field, just trots out there.
I've seen one quote-unquote reaction from him this year, and it was on his touchdown this week. He kind of did one of those, and you kind of see him give a little. He also made a joke today.
What?
He made a joke
Dude,
in
he's getting
media
more
availability.
comfortable.
Huh?
He's getting more comfortable.
Oh, no, he's feeling himself. He made a joke. They were Zach Klein from WSB TV, Channel 2, Action News, asked him about it today, or asked him, basically said like, hey, Pop says that he can handle your stiff arms out there in space. And Bowers was like, I don't know when a linebacker at Georgia has ever gotten close enough to me for me to even have to stiff arm him. How about them apples from Brock Bowers, bro?
I need more of that. I love
know.
that.
And
hilarious.
then, of course, because you can't talk about football nowadays without talking about Taylor Swift, apparently. He was asked about T-Swizz and Travis Kelce, and basically said, that's a win for tight ends. And that's all I really have on that fact.
I'm already over that.
Yeah, I am kind of too.
So tired of
The
it.
real Kelce and Swift is on the Eagles. That's all I got to say.
I like that. That's not bad. A little DeAndre Swift humor. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I really cannot entertain this Taylor Swift thing.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about it too much. But no, Brock Bowers definitely absolutely eating against UAB.
I ran the numbers on it.
Yeah.
228 total yards and 4 touchdowns in 2 games against UAB.
On 15 catches?
He had, let me check. He
9
had
and
9.
7.
He had 9 on, right?
Yeah.
And then 3.
What?
He had 3 against UAB.
He's got 230 on 12 catches?
Yeah.
That's insane. Mans is averaging 20 yards a pop against UAB. They don't want to see that dude ever again.
Well, it is because he had that 89-yard touchdown in 2021.
it is.
The other 2, one was a touchdown in the red zone, and the other was just a simple out route.
I guess you could call it an injury update from Kirby today. They're going to find out what Bullard's got this week in practice. He was more, this is obvious, he was more apt to be available, in my opinion, versus South Carolina than he was against UAB. He was a complete non-contest against UAB. Against South Carolina, he at least came out in cleats, ankles taped, pants on, ready to go through warm-ups, went through warm-ups, full gear on, set on the bench. Okay, so that was, we're going to try to go, game time decision. This week was absolutely not. We're going to play Dan Jackson and David Sisavon. This week, we'll see what happens. But I don't necessarily think they're hopeful they will get him back. I think the quote today was, we're hopeful he can do more today in practice, but we will find out. So I think we're going to get more on the injury update tomorrow.
Was it because he retweaked it, or just they're like, we're shutting it down for UAB
I think
it's
more I think it's more leaning on this on precautionary sides of we don't necessarily need you against UAB.
Okay.
Which is happening more often nowadays. I feel like coaches are more obvious, are more open about how we think we're going to dub the shit out of this team we're playing.
Well, yeah, it's because they're going
Nick Saban did it 2 weeks ago. He played his backups because, quote, I promised them playing time.
Yeah. Well, it's also because you're about to start playing 17 games a season. You're about to have an
That's
NFL
true.
schedule as a college football team, whereas 5 years ago, not 5, but 10 years ago, at most you're playing was 14 games.
Comments Chris Daniel in the comment makes a good point here. In Kirby's press conference, he was asked about the stiff arm linebacker Brock Bowers conversation, and Kirby was like, "Nah, they'd never get close to that guy. We would never even try. We don't even let them do one-on-ones against the linebackers in practice." That's what he said. We don't even let them try. We just put the safeties on them. So that's all good things.
Would you rather have to try to tackle Brock Bowers or get a pass rush on Amarius Mims?
Pass rush ain't gonna kill me.
Yeah.
Brock Bowers will fold me like a fucking lawn chair.
All right, how about this then? You're a linebacker. You have to tackle Brock Bowers, or they're running a screen and Amarius Mims is coming at you. You have to evade that.
I can make Amarius miss more than I got a higher chance of making Amarius miss than I do actually tackling Bowers.
Valid.
That's a good analysis.
And, I mean, I'm going to look like kind of a pansy when I dive at Bowers' feet, because that's what it's going to be. I'm going to look like George Pickens the other night in that Sunday Night Football game. Just, just throw my body right in front of the dude.
He's such a vibe.
Yeah, he is such a vibe. That's a great way to describe George Pickens. Hey, that boy Hugh Freeze ran smack dab into one of the greatest gotcha moments he's ever had in coaching. This is hilarious. This is Hugh Freeze being asked about the immediate success, okay, and then trying to give himself some leeway here. This is Coach basically saying like, hey, Kirby's on top of the college football world, but it took him like 4 years, am I right? Play the clip.
I don't know how long it took him. I don't know. What did it take him, 3 years or so to get there, or 4 years? I don't know. Some of y'all could do the research, but his second year? Whew, I don't know that that's accurate, but anyway, so he did it pretty fast then. That's pretty impressive. It's even more impressive.
My favorite part about that clip was, surely that's not correct. Surely that's not right.
How out of touch do you have to be to not know that Kirby Smart went to the Natty in his second
Well, to
year?
be fair, I think in 2018, Hugh Freeze was kind of dealing with something.
I mean,
To be 100% honest.
yes, but even so, it's referenced so much.
Yeah.
I mean, dude was coaching football games from a hospital bed, so he really wasn't maybe in the loop the most.
Actually, I don't even know when the NCAA investigation started out there at Ole Miss, but I think it was around that time.
It was shortly after 2016, because let's think. Matt Luke was the coach for 2 years.
So Hugh Freeze during this time, when Georgia was already making a national championship run in their second year, was probably doing community service at Vacation Bible School. Mm-hmm. Probably doing something like that.
Yeah, or
Probably. So you have a reason not to know this, except for I have found that Hugh Freeze is a good football coach, but the great ones are historians of the football game
Yeah,
or
that's
the
what I'm
game of
saying.
football. Like, that's a little weird to me.
that's why I find it so
You're right.
like you're a high level SEC college football coach. You're on your second SEC school, and you can't tell me that Kirby Smart, a guy who is practically Jesus in the coaching world, went to his Natty his second year. That's weird.
Jesus Cristo in the coaching world, huh?
See?
Yeah, he was MIA from 2017 and 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was hiding in the bush.
No reference.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
What do you mean by that?
Just asking.
He's trying to find a burning bush
What
in
do
the
you
desert,
mean by
man.
that?
All right.
That's what he's trying to do. It's a biblical term.
Just checking.
So for the second straight week in a row, the University of Georgia's defense has allowed a 2-minute drill before the half, a score on a 2-minute drill before the half. Now, here's what I will say. And when I made the quarterback ranks last week and I put Spencer Rattler number 1, the whole damn Twitter sphere broke up. And they were all like, what is this guy talking about? Did y'all see what that sucker did this weekend? Okay, he's good. All right, last week, the 2-minute drill before the half, he's good. He's really good.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's a really, really good quarterback. He's an NFL quarterback. So last week, defensive performance, 14 points, signing off. Tremendous job. This week, I already talked about it. I thought Chris Mortensen did a really, really good job offensively. And by the way, your coach kind of pointed this out today during his press conference, that at the University of Georgia, defensive standards are a little bit absurd. The fact that every time they allow a couple of touchdowns in a game, we got to come out here and be like, what's wrong with the defense? Well, I mean, their standard is 13 points per game, and that's what they consider elite defense. Are they that? No, they're not that right now. No, they're not. But are they still a top 5 defense in the sport? Yeah, Absolutely. Is everybody else still scared shitless every time they play them? Yeah, absolutely. Did Chris Mortensen have to call the game of his life to score 21 points on Saturday? Yeah, absolutely. Okay? There are good offenses in this sport. There really are. They are everywhere. They are abundant. Okay? So that was my takeaway. Could tackling in space be a little bit better? Yeah. Could linebacker play be a little bit better? Yeah. Are you suspect in some areas? Maybe, perhaps. Could consistency on the defensive line be something that you need to hammer down the rest of the way? Yeah, there are improvements on this defense, but let's not be out here like freaking out, okay? I don't freak out until y'all give up like 42 points to some team not named Ohio State.
Mm-hmm. Stop me if you've heard this one.
Ooh.
Georgia gives up multiple fumbles that leads to multiple scores to a lesser opponent.
Missouri?
Close. Kent State. It happened against Kent State. There were 2 fumbles in that game. Kent State
McConkey on a punt return and Ladd McConkey on a screen.
Yeah, both of those resulted in points. That's exactly what happened on Saturday against UAB. And coincidentally, Georgia gave up quite a few points to South Carolina. And then they went up against UAB, gave up 21 points. Last year it was Kent State and Missouri. Those were compiled together. Right after that, from that point on all the way to the rest of the season until you played Ohio State, the defense was fine. It was more than okay. It was to the standard that the fans are used to and that the Georgia Bulldogs are used to. So I don't think there's any issues.
Yeah, I also think that Georgia fans got really spoiled in 2021 when you had a defense that didn't allow more than 3 touchdowns through 5 games. Like, it felt like every week you were having a shutout. And so now that's kind of become the standard. Like you said, that's not a realistic standard, even for a top 5 defense. Georgia's a top 10 defense in the country right now. Are they as good as they were 2 years ago? No, I think it's far-fetched to say that. But that doesn't mean they're bad. That doesn't mean this defense is a liability whatsoever.
And I think, we talked about it coming into the season that they statistically just likely weren't going to be what they have been against the run.
Right.
But they've been good enough. Like it hasn't been an issue in my opinion. I think some of the blowback's a little bit crazy. I did notice we're starting to see less of 18 and more of 33 at the linebacker position on early downs. Okay, they tried. It looked like they tried. Now I don't want to speak for the defense. Okay, but when I watched it on tape and when you guys watched it on Saturday, 33 was on the field a whole hell of a lot more on early downs than 18. That's just the reality. C.J. Allen is playing on early downs right now a little bit more than Xavier Sori, and that's to me quantifiable. We can explain why, and here's why. C.J. Allen been playing Mike box linebacker for 5 years now. Every single snap of high school football was in the box, hands on knees, reading guards, keying on run keys. Okay, that's what he did, and he did it great, all right? And he's continuing to do that right now in college. Xavier Sori didn't even have a playbook until he got to IMG Academy his senior year of high school. And he only played like 4 games because he got hurt. Xavier Sori has not played a ton of football, not played a ton of organized football until he got to Georgia, and he's still catching up. And they tried, it looked like, and they're going to continue to try to get him reps. But on critical rundowns and critical early downs, I would imagine you're going to see C.J. Allen moving forward.
I mean, I think that for the situation that Xavier Sori is in right now, I think it's a good situation to have where you're not having to play him and just saying like, all right, well, you have to play, go figure it out. You can put him in situations where it's like, all right, we're up 21 points in the fourth quarter. You're getting the rest of the run at linebacker. Let's go figure things out, gain some more confidence, get you some more in-game reps, put some more stuff on film, and week by week, we're going to learn more from you, and you're going to learn more about yourself, and we'll get you in a comfortable position come December where you can play significant snaps for us, and maybe you figure it out by then.
All right. I know we have all week to talk about this football game, and we will overanalyze it out the wazoo, but just initial thoughts on Auburn before we head to NBR.
Offense, doo-doo. Defense, okay.
Defensively, not bad.
Yeah.
Like, play stout defense. And I think we said it last week. If you just look at them, like, just on film and just bodies, height, weight, speed, Auburn's never a depleted.
They have always had, like, a good front four. Like, that front four of Auburn has always looked SEC caliber.
The state of Alabama. The state of Alabama has more better players for a state that does not get recruited highly. It's crazy, honestly. Like, I think it's maybe because of people like me. Like, this week will be my first week going west of Carrollton in like forever. Okay, forever. And I'm the regional director down here. It's just bang for your buck. Whole hell of a lot easier to stay in Metro Atlanta. And guess what? College coaches do this too. College coaches come down next week. I got a list of them. They text me all the time. Where are you going to be this week? All right. All of them stay in Metro Atlanta. They don't go out to Clay Chalkville. They don't go out to Birmingham. They might go out to Birmingham as a metro city, but they don't go out to Mobile a lot, all right? The middle portions of the state out there in Alabama. They might go out there for a 4 or 5 star, but the 3-star that ends up a 6'4", 320-pound defensive tackle for one of these schools we're talking about, Auburn, no, those guys never leave the state. They end up getting locked down. That's why they always got good defensive line play.
I always have some weird feeling when you go to
Jordan
Auburn
Hare.
as Georgia. It's just what happens at Jordan Hare. And you mean
It's Jordan, by the way.
Jordan,
Yeah,
whatever.
Jordan.
But I mean, even you look at the statistics, and you don't really have a reason to be worried. What was it we said that Kirby Smart is?
Oh, no, I got the stat right here in my chats. Go ahead.
But no. So my point is that you're on a 6-game win streak. This
Yeah.
might be one of the worst Auburn teams you've gone up against. But there's still, for some reason, a slight fear. So it's
Not any fear from Kirby Smart's end, and here's why. This is the stat you're alluding to. Everyone remembers that Auburn game in 2017 before the SEC championship game where Auburn scored 40 points in Jordan Hare. The other 7 football games in which Kirby Smart has coached against Auburn as the head coach of the University of Georgia, they've allowed 9.1 points per game. They have not allowed more than 14 points in a singular football game against Auburn since that 2017 matchup in which they gave up 40. This dude owns Auburn. I mean, Daddy.
Daddy Smart.
Daddy Smart. All right, we got a whole nother hour coming up for you guys in just about 5 minutes on NBR, and it's a great one. Of course, we're going to be talking about a great Week 4 slate that did not disappoint. Make sure you're sticking around. See you. Love you. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Give it a 3 count.